YouTube, what the crap's going on? Heir of Carthage here, back on Total War Rome 2, and we're going to jump into some more multiplayer action in the patch 15 beta. I have a few battles to show you. The first one's actually a city assault. I didn't even know I had it set on city assault, and then realized it right before I started the battle, which was good, because my original army would have been bad for city assault. And my opponent is defending Antioch with the forces of Egypt, and I am attacking it with the forces of Epirus. And I'm going to forego any siege equipment in the form of like ballista, but I have other siege equipment in the form of towers and tortoise and other stuff that I'll bring. My opponent brings a very elite pike corps here with some bows, and that may seem like a crazy choice at first sight, but to be honest, in a cityscape, pikes are very dangerous, and they can hold their own, and especially Hellenic Royal Guard. And he has 3 bowmen to protect them against skirmish fire. But nevertheless, I think he spent a little too much, but we'll see what happens. Obviously I had no idea what his army was in the beginning of the battle. Man, that is beautiful there. Check out the mountains in the background. All the stuff. And I hear there's supposed to be some lighting changes and stuff taking effect in this patch. I don't know that it's in the beta, but already still looks really nice. Anyway, I'm going to be moving forward towards the city. You saw my army on the opening screen, but basically I think I have 3 Italian swordsmen, 3 royal peltists, I think 5 or 6 pikemen, 4 standard archers, 2 Cretan archers, no cavalry whatsoever. I don't think cavalry were going to end up being too handy here. However, the risk that puts me at is that if my opponent did have cavalry, he might have sallied some out of these gates and been able to pretty badly harass my men. But here, he does have archers on the towers. They're firing standard shot against my towers. They really needed to be switched to flaming shot, or best yet, I would just ignore the towers altogether and just be willing to defend the areas where my men have to come off the walls. So a lot of people do that. If you bring any swords or any units that can fight to get the wall, they'll just forego the wall, and they'll just put pikes right down here at the exit, and that is a very, very feasible strategy, because there's only so many points that have to be covered. Which, there's a few things that I did to help avoid such a catastrophe for my men. I brought plenty of archers, number 1. Number 2, I brought these tortoise, and these are like giant battering rams that get the walls busted down, basically. So those guys are going to move up and knock the walls down. I've got 2 of them. And then not only that, I'm bringing my towers in from multiple different places so that my opponent would have to try and stop me at multiple different points. And I've got archers supporting each tower just in case. I don't want my guys to get caught on fire and have my towers destroyed. But essentially you can see that my towers are going to keep him busy at the walls, give me the opportunity to capture gatehouses or towers, and then these tortoises are going to punch holes right through his wall here, and again here. And so this will allow me to come in the streets here, and if I capture the gate, you know, I'll be able to come in this way as well. If these swordsmen win, I could go capture this gate and pour in from here as well, but you can see my opponent's doing exactly what I said. So pikes are actually very dangerous in a cityscape, and so he's using them here to block streets. And if you don't bring enough skirmishers, a lot of people like to just tank up on melee infantry in a city assault. If you don't bring skirmishers, this is going to be your fate. You're going to be dead on the front of these pikemen, and it's not going to be a pretty thing. Yeah, you can see my siege towers here, and here I had Italian swordsmen going up against Galatian swordsmen. Galatian swordsmen are better. Seems like. Their stats are a little less on a few things, but their attack and damage is quite good. Italian swordsmen and Galatian swordsmen both fight outside of formation as well. Plus his guys kind of have mine surrounded here because mine are coming out of the tower. So it's not going to be the best situation for me. Let you catch some of this wall fighting action here. Yeah, you can see my men here actually not winning. But it's a nice unit to have given to Epirus, to have these Italian swordsmen. It gives them something besides just the Illyrian coastal levies. So it's a nice unit to have. You can see his archers here were spread out really thin along the walls, which gives him a lot of firepower. But then I've got guys coming down the walls here that are going to attack his archers from behind as well. I'm trying to move them further down so I can get out of range of that tower back there. So yeah, this is why I move them in here, and then I'll attack his archers. So yeah, you can see that's where I'm going to get into his archers, so now they're going to get pulled off duty. And elsewhere, I've already busted a hole through the wall here. And I'm going to be bringing my men through the breach. They're just moving the tortoise out of the way. And then right here, the wall is being crunched, and his guys are still in the vicinity, which leaves them in some danger. And through the fog, we should end up catching a glimpse of the tortoise and my men here, so I'll kind of leave that for a second for some fun cinematic effect. Yep, there's the tortoise. And then, like I said, my men back in the background celebrating the breach of the wall. Alright, and then over here my royal peltists are on the wall, and I'm going to bring them down so that I can go put some threat on his men. And again, this pike unit becomes visible to my men. It's a Hellenic Royal Guard. I'll turn the thing back on so you can see the map. And it's being shot by my arrow towers. My opponent did not move it back. I don't know if he was busy elsewhere or what, but he has a very defensive strategy here. Maybe he just wanted to plop his guys in and see how it goes. I have no idea exactly. I mean, obviously his idea was to block up streets with Hellenic Royal Guard. Again, not a bad idea, but he should have just done it with more cheaper pikemen. And then I am catching a glimpse of some African war elephants back here as well. But that's still all I can see at the moment. But I see enough Hellenic Royal Guard to know that he doesn't have a whole lot of other forces. And to be honest, this Hellenic Royal Guard, I expected them right here. Just facing here with archers up on these walls for support. That's actually a very good place to defend here in Antioch. Plus, it's the capture point up there. So yeah, if you lose that point, then you lose the battle. So you don't have to worry about losing. You can just bottleneck your opponent right there. But that's precisely the reason why I brought a bunch of archers, because I've actually lost on this map before to someone because I did not bring skirmishers, and they did have that area blocked up, actually with Hellenic Royal Guard. And there was no way I could get through. Even after I threw all the javelins on my swords, I could not kill all the Hellenic Royal Guard. Well, just how strong are these Hellenic Royal Guard? Well, first of all, hedgerows fall before them, apparently. Anyway, I'm going to bring some of my pikes to bear on his. My guys are in a much deeper formation, but his, even though when they're in a thin formation, they have a much higher attack and defense. They have all kinds of higher stuff. All my pikes are still in formation at the moment. Sometimes pikes being in formation, I think pikes in formation is good when you're defending. I think if you want to be offensive, you should probably take them out of formation. Leave them in pike formation. Take them out of formation attack, I should say. Always leave them in pike formation. So here's an overhead. My opponent is going to beat me over here, though his Galatian swords ended up being very cost effective. They were able to kill 2 of my Italian swordsmen, which kind of surprised me. But those guys ended up doing well for him. Yeah, you can see the towers here combined with my pikes. His guys just don't have the depth to hold out forever. But they did get kills. I mean, look. They beasted up a lot of kills here. 61, looks like. So that's how strong these guys are. Even in that thin line and even massively outnumbered, they picked up a lot of kills. But they're gone now. They fought down to 5 men, which is impressive to say the least. And I can see that my opponent has another one of these blockades set up here. And then he's got his elephants, no doubt, waiting for a moment where my men might become vulnerable. But I don't know if surely he probably expected pikes from me as well. Since Epirus doesn't have a whole ton of sword infantry. And hoplites probably aren't the best bet for a siege battle assault, I wouldn't think. Maybe good in defense, but not so good for assaulting. I don't know. Maybe they do have a purpose. Here's more of my royal Italian swordsmen. This is the unit that came on the other tower and lived. Then I've got 2 of my royal peltists here. And then I have a 3rd that I accidentally left back here, but I am bringing it up. I won't forget it. So I had some archers I had forgotten too. So I'm kind of trying to take my time here and get ready to meet my opponent properly. I brought 2 Cretans, and really my original archers were meant as kind of like throwaway units that I could use to distract his skirmishers on the wall. And my Cretans were meant to be left till late game for just such a purpose as this. So he's got a full unit of Hellenic Royal Guard staring down my 2 pikemen in the street, or 3 pikemen. His Hellenic Royal Guard will massacre all 3 of my pikemen. At least I believe it will. Haven't exactly tested that. But my Cretan archers are going to help put a stop to this. So they're going to open fire. And let's follow their shots in and see how effective it is. Now, Hellenic Royal Guard do have very nice armor. And all the units are going to be a little stronger versus missiles. But the missiles themselves got stronger as well. So after a few volleys, my Cretan archers are going to start picking up kills. And they will against just about any unit. So yep, see my Cretans cutting these guys down. And it's going to force my opponent to come forward because he's not going to want to just sit here and eat it. His own Egyptian bowmen are going to open fire on my pikemen. But I have so many pikemen, it's going to be hard for him to be effective there. And then over here I've done the same thing. So here's my standard archers. And again, we're focus firing on a Hellenic Royal Guard and pulling them forward. And my opponent does want to come forward anyway, because his guys will win in a melee engagement. The problem is that he has no more skirmishers. So I think his plan was sound. I think that he should have just brought more pikemen, dropped the elephants, and then more skirmishers. and possibly a few sword units try and outflank. And I think he would have been better off there. And again, my guys going on the walls was kind of just a distraction. Really, I wanted to punch through and get my pikes into the city. So yeah. Anyway, this Hellenic Royal Guard, watch them. I have to focus fire on one at a time. So this one's going to actually make it to my men. And I know that eventually this will lead to my demise. Let's watch these guys and see how well they start getting kills. So just one kill so far because pikes usually kind of stop when they start to engage. And then I've trained my archer fire over here. So this is one of those things where you got to keep an eye on your pikes. My opponent gave an attack order, but they stopped immediately. His guys should be out of formation attack to be a little more effective here. That's why they're getting cut down and getting almost no kills. Yeah, both of his units are in that shape right now. And his Hellenic Royal Guard over here got mowed down, and so did his Galatian swordsman by my Cretans, not Cretans, whatever. Cracklins, whatever I want to call them. Yeah, anyway, this Hellenic Royal Guard gets no kills. Because, again, this little bug with pikes still exists. If they're in formation attack and you click an attack order, they just move up, touch the enemy, and stop. Because they're trying to stay in formation. If you take them out of formation attack, they're a little better. My guys are defensive right now, so they're all in formation attack. So again, I think when you're fighting defensively, leave them in formation attack. They'll hold their formation and fight defensively. When they need to fight offensively, I highly recommend that you take them off of it. Because these guys actually could have gotten a whole lot more kills than this. They probably could have killed those two units while my archers were working on them. But yeah, so at this point my opponent is definitely in trouble. He's losing those two Hellenic Royal Guard. Over here, his elephants, I used Italian swordsman as bait, and then left my Royal Peltist on fire at will. And look at that, they actually killed elephants with their javelins. Worked very nicely. And then behind them, I've got my Cretan archers raining down even more arrow fire. So his elephants are running amok right now, actually, because of the javelins from my Royal Peltist. So that's an effective way to use swords against infantry, is to leave them on fire at will. Use one unit to slow the elephants down, while one or two other units throw their javelins, and you can effectively stop elephants. So what does it mean for elephants? I have a battle where I use some soon, and I'll kind of show you how you need to try and use them to still make them effective. They are more easily killed in this patch than they were in the past, but they can still do a lot of destructive damage. So you just have to, I think, use them on the right timing. My opponent has these archers, and he's got this Ptolemaic cav, and he has one more Hellenic Royal Guard unit that's coming from back over here. So mostly, though, I've been able to beat my opponent here because I think his forces were a little too singled out. Let's watch this. So his Ptolemaic cav was trying to get a charge off before my pikes come down, but a little bit too late. That unit a little better, but in the end, my pikes are brought to bear on his Ptolemaic cav, and it's going to send them into an immediate waver as they lose a whole lot of men. So yeah, not going to go well there. He's going to pull back, or actually they routed. Never mind. They come back from routing. And then, like I said, I see his last Hellenic Royal Guard here. And I'm going to go ahead and start splitting my troops up some. I was deciding how to face that Hellenic Royal Guard over there. It's like, alright, I'll take all my pikes to face it, because that'll be fun to see how one Hellenic Royal Guard can face off against my pikes. And then I'm going to take these Royal Peltist and just capture the city capture point. And he starts to countercharge me with his Ptolemaic cav here. I thought my guys were in fire at will, but for some reason they don't get their javelins out. Which is probably good, because they actually brace for the attack without their javelins out. I don't know if that's something you all know or not, but your guys do not get a bracing bonus if they're about to throw javelins. So be aware of that. If you're about to get charged by shot cav, you may not want your guys in fire at will. And if you do click the shield wall, it does take a few moments for that to initialize. It's not immediate. So the idea here is I'll surround his Hellenic Royal Guard, but still I'm curious to see what kind of kills these guys get. I go ahead and take all my guys out of formation attack, but leave them in pike phalanx. I'm going to push forward. You can see over here my guys do a little bit better job at pushing in and attacking. But look at the health and the armor on his men. See how my guys are attacking, but his guys don't fall quickly? And then see how my guys march into him over here? See how they're a little more... My guys will march forward better. But since his guys are so much stronger, watch the kills start growing on this unit. This is what I'm talking about. That's why this was dangerous for me, if I didn't have enough skirmishers, because these guys would just sit here and beast my men. Just watch the kills skyrocket. And that's even with the unit flanking. My flanking unit is jabbing at them, and it's not doing bad. The problem is that they're just killing my men faster up front than I'm killing them from the flank. So up to 130 and rising. So I'm like, all right, he's going to kill all of my pikemen here if I don't rearrange. So here in a second, I go ahead and rearrange my formation. Although I am getting him from the flank for the most part, but these units who face him head-on over here just get mowed down. And they should. The Hellenic Royal Guard is a completely and totally superior pike unit. No reason why it shouldn't be able to mow down a couple of standard pikemen. So there we go. Now I've split and gotten behind them. Again, my men are out of formation attack. But still, if you watch, I click an attack order. My men do come forward, start poking the nearest guys. But I have to kind of keep cajoling them a little bit. So I kind of keep clicking single attack orders, not a double click where they want to charge. But I kind of just keep single clicking attack orders to get my men to keep pushing slowly at the back. Looks like my Sarisses are actually above the heads of the enemy, but I'm killing them anyway because of this weird little tent my guys are standing on top of. And eventually these guys are going to die. Yeah. Meanwhile, in Antioch, my men are taking the capture point away, which is over here by this big temple or whatever it is. So, yep. Anyway, that was that replay. That ended up being it says a Pyrrhic victory for me. I don't really think that was a Pyrrhic victory. Probably just kills-wise, because I got just barely more kills than he did. That's probably why I did that, but I had a lot more men than he did. So I think my opponent there was just a little too defensive. And I think if he would have brought a couple of Hellenic Royal Guard and then a whole bunch of standard pikemen, this would have been a much more dangerous battle for me because I would have run out of ammo with my archers and it would have come down to a lot of pike grinding in the streets there. Of course, I did have Royal Peltas to try and get around and outflank, but again, pikes are a great unit to defend a cityscape with, so I think it was the right general idea for my opponent, just a little too elite on his army, and he probably could have made that a lot more difficult for me. But I appreciate the game from him. It was fun. He's a good sport about it, and he wanted to have a rematch, and so I hosted a rematch on open ground, and that's what you'll see next time.